Longest-running libertarian television show ever, as far as we know. My name is Pat Dixon. I'm chairman of the Libertarian Party of Texas, and I welcome all our viewers tonight, assuming we have viewers. What we're going to do tonight is have a call-in debate. I'm going to debate a topic with an esteemed colleague, and you get to call in. The number is 512-477-2288. Again, 512-477-2288. Now, why would you call into this show? Because we're going to debate this. This is the FairTax book. It was written by Neal Boortz and Congressman John Linder. And I'm going to have a debate with my esteemed colleague, Executive Director Wes Benedict. How you doing, Wes?
Good, Pat. Thanks for having me on the show.
You betcha. And what's going on with the Libertarian Party these days?
Well, I did want to make just a few announcements. The Libertarian Party, the Travis County Libertarians meet once a week. Or, I'm sorry, we're getting off to a rough start here.
Yeah. Start over. Go ahead.
I am the chair of the Travis County Libertarians and executive director of the Libertarian Party of Texas. The Travis County Libertarians meet on the first Tuesday of each month at the Mekong River Restaurant, which is down in downtown Austin on 6th Street. If you want to find more information about where those meetings are, you can check our website, austinliberty.org. That's austinliberty.org for more information on when the Travis County Libertarians meet. Other than that, in general, as you know, Pat, the Libertarian Party supports smaller government. That means lower taxes, personal freedoms, less regulation, personal responsibility, but especially at this moment, in my opinion, low taxes.
Right.
And so what did you want to talk about?
Well, here's what I want to say. The Libertarian Party clearly we're the fiscal conservatives on the ballot. Republicans, by and large, have given us the opportunity to say we're the only fiscal conservatives left. So what we're talking about tonight is taxation and a certain bill that's in Congress. Why would libertarians support this bill? Well, let me ask you a question. If you owed somebody 23 cents, there are two ways you could pay that. You could have a little bit of that 23 cents taken out of every single check that you get from your employer. At the end of the year, you could put all this paperwork together, fill out all these forms, try to figure out if you filled them out right, call the IRS, get wrong answers most of the time, pay a public accountant to try to fix all the problems, try to get that into the mailbox on time, and hope that they don't audit you. That's one way. The other way is to just pay 23 cents and be done with it. That's what the fair tax is. It's not lower taxation. It is not a libertarian utopia. I know that there are libertarians out there that say, unless it eliminates taxes, we're not for it. The point is, let's at least change the bureaucracy. Let's get rid of that bureaucracy. That's what we're eliminating with the fair tax. It's not getting us all the way to the end zone, but it's gaining us ground. That's why I support the fair tax. So why would you oppose it, Wes?
Well, tell me, you're a politician, right?
No. I would never call myself a politician.
Are you a politician?
See, politics, in politics you have ticks or small blood-sucking insects. In politics you got lots of them. So I just call myself a nice guy.
A politician. Because, you know, that's the way I feel about this fair tax thing. You know, despite, you know, everything you described, you made it sound like the system we have now is bad and complicated. And, of course, I agree with that.
Yes.
And then you made it sound like what it was going to be replaced with is just going to be this very simple thing. And I just am very skeptical about that.
Right. The whole premise is, right now, every single income earner in the United States has to fill out those forms, have the withholding, worry about all the tax compliance. With the fair tax, what you're doing is the retail businesses are the ones who are actually doing that. They have to have the burden of proof.
Yeah.
For most of us who go into a retail store, a grocery store, or wherever and pay, we're not filling out government forms and hoping we're complying and hiring accountants to try to pay that tax. What we're doing is eliminating the bureaucracy of paying that tax. A small segment of the population, retail businesses, do have that bureaucracy.
Okay.
But we're eliminating it for most people.
Well, let me ask you, because I used to own a business, and we paid the state sales tax. And as simple as that sounds, some of the things we made, they weren't the final product. In other words, we made kitchen countertops. Sometimes we sold those kitchen countertops as a retail sale right there. And so, we paid I forget what the tax was, but we paid whatever it was. I'm against taxes, but, we did it.
Right.
We paid them. But in some cases, these went into another product. In other words, they are installed in a home, and we didn't have to pay the tax on that.
Right.
Well, that made, even as simple as that process was, in as few products, the quantities were small, that added complexity to my business right there. And it was actually impossible to track exactly, because certain things applied to raw materials. You didn't use them all. So to me, there's still complexities with that. Whether you have a sales tax or an income tax or payroll tax or whatever, I just want lower taxes, and I don't care what kind of taxes you've got.
That's right. Well, certainly any sort of taxing system is going to have inefficiencies.
Mm-hmm.
You may not believe me, but would you believe Dr. Milton Friedman? If Dr. Milton Friedman told you that retail sales taxes are far more efficient than income tax, would you believe him?
Well, I might believe him on that issue. The other thing, though, Steve Forbes has been running around for years and years. In fact, I think back when I was an evil Republican, I might have voted for him in the primary.
Yep.
He was pushing the flat income tax.
Right.
And, he goes on and on how, look, everybody who has a job, all they have to do is take this index card, put the income, put your name and address, and file it. Simple as that. And I understood that. And that's, what do you think of that?
I think that's certainly an improvement on what we have. But according to Milton Friedman, who I just quoted, I have two articles right here from Dr. Milton Friedman, and both of them say...
Yeah. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Only one of your mics is working. Can you put Wes's mic in the middle?
Okay. We have technical difficulties. Here we go. I hope you all can hear me.
So y'all didn't hear all of
yeah, I guess
Pat's
nobody heard
logic.
Well, you're going to hear it again. Dr. Milton Friedman,
okay.
I regard as certainly the preeminent economist in the United States, if not the world.
I think Milton Friedman is a good man with great ideas, and I believe I agree with most of them.
So here's an interview with Milton Friedman, April 10th, 2005, where he says that clearly a consumption tax is far better to an income tax because it's far more efficient.
Okay.
That same year, March 31st.
Yeah, well, right. Okay. So he said that.
Yes.
You made that clear.
Yes.
Milton Friedman said a consumption tax would be better than an income tax.
Yes.
So
they're far more efficient. Yes.
Far more efficient. Now, I can believe that. I can believe that. That doesn't mean that I think what we should do now is try and implement a huge sales tax in place of a huge income tax. So anyway, I'm just bringing that up. I understand that Milton Friedman thinks a consumption tax would be better. I think that's what we have for our state. The state of Texas has a sales tax and it's a consumption tax. And I certainly don't want to eliminate that and put an income tax. I want to just keep pushing the rates down. But my concern is going through a huge bureaucratic change when there's no consensus in America that we need to lower taxes.
Would it be a huge bureaucratic change if we repealed the 16th Amendment?
No.
So would you vote against
that
repealing the 16th Amendment because it's a huge change?
Well, I would probably vote for that, but it depends on the circumstances and the context of all that.
Well, we can't be afraid that, gee, if we change something and the end result is better, oh my gosh, it's going to be hard.
Right.
It's going to be a big change, so let's not do it. Let's just be comfortable with this miserable situation we're in.
And I understand that, but again, you're saying this change is definitely going to be better, and it's worth all that trouble. And just because it's not perfect means we should do it anyway. again, I'm concerned there are a lot of problems with that sales tax thing. I think there's opportunities for creating more tax evasion. I mean, I know people who own small businesses who didn't report all their sales to say, so they wouldn't pay the retail tax on that.
Right. I just want to remind the viewers, the phone number to call in if you want to debate us on this topic is 512-477-2288. Again, 512-477-2288. You were talking about tax evasion.
And we're with the Libertarian Party, and we are having a debate about whether we should implement the fair tax or not.
Or not.
Or something else, maybe.
Certainly anything, I'm in favor of anything that would lower the tax burden or simplify and reduce the bureaucracy. The compliance cost right now is probably the biggest problem because people see, okay, here's how much is taken out of my paycheck every week or so. At the end of the year, here's how much it costs. It costs more than that. It costs far more than those numbers you're seeing on the form because the amount of time you're putting in and your time is valuable.
And that's the worst thing about almost every tax system. And it can happen to any of them, but it's all of the deductions, the credits you get. If you have children, you get discounts for this much or credits for this much. If you pay mortgage interest, you get to discount that. If you have disabilities, that's a discount. If you have health savings accounts, 401ks, pensions, all these things make it more and more complex. And I'm concerned that no matter what you do, if it's a consumption tax, or retail tax, or whatever kind of tax, it's just going to rapidly become more and more complex as more and more people get their, as more and more special interests divvy it up in certain ways.
You can make that complaint about everything. Certainly, that happens with the income tax all the time.
Right.
Every year, it seems that there's some new exclusion, or, okay, if you're this, you have to pay more. If you're this, you have to pay less, so it becomes cumbersome. I can't promise that any bill is going to remain simple unless you elect libertarians who are going to scale back the scope of government.
And that's a good point. We've got 218 libertarians who file for office in Texas, and maybe we'd be arguing over whether a lower consumption tax or a lower income tax is better for America and Texas if we had more libertarians in office.
Absolutely.
So I do want to stress that point. It's Republicans and Democrats can raise all our taxes high enough and fast enough so that any kind of tax is just going to be a higher tax. And that's no matter what the kind of tax, to me, the focus needs to be teaching Americans and teaching Texans and teaching Austinites we need lower taxes, and that's better for everyone.
I certainly agree with that, but I think that with the fair tax, we have a real chance of getting another 5 yards down the field closer to scoring. We have a caller, so we're going to see who this is.
Okay.
When I answer this, I'm going to say you're on the air, and that means you're on the air. So here we go. Hello, you're on the air.
Yeah, hi. I just caught this program, and it sounds good. There's only one problem that I had with it. I used to think exactly like you did.
Which one?
On the fair tax.
Me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I used to think the same way. Oh, this is fair. It's a great idea. It's the only way to make everybody pay the equal amount. Wrong. I used to think that. I found out from my cousin who's now dead, who was a libertarian, who said, wrong. What happens, the people that have the money can afford it. The people that don't have the money will never have it.
So you don't like the prebate?
No, it's not going to do any good. Because some people can't afford it either way.
For low-income people?
Do what?
The prebate's not going to do any good for the low-income people?
I missed the point on that. I'm sorry.
The prebate?
The rebate, you mean?
Do you know what the prebate is?
No, I hadn't heard that.
I don't either. So
that's okay. So I've just refuted your argument and your argument.
Yeah, I have to hear that. In other words, that have to be a little bit of kind of like a bottom line, I guess, is what you're saying.
Let me explain.
I don't understand the caller's question even, whether it's a rebate or whatever. Explain Explain what you're saying, because I didn't understand that myself.
Okay, what I'm saying is this: if you don't have the money to begin with, it is not going to matter what your tax rate is. In other words, a poor person can't pay it either way, and you're sitting there saying, okay, let's go ahead and charge him 10% consumer tax on things. He doesn't have enough money to barely make his bills. Well, the rich guy has it either way.
Well, if it doesn't matter either way, then it doesn't. If you got zero and you're not going to pay any income tax and you're not going to pay any sales tax, so I don't see why it would matter.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I'm saying. In other words, you've got to have a line, though. In other words, like anybody that makes less than $10,000 there shouldn't even be any taxes.
And it does. If
Okay.
you read the book, if you read the bill, there's something called a prebate.
Okay, that's what I didn't know about.
Yes, and that's what a lot of people don't understand about this. And as a libertarian, I'm not even sure it's a pure libertarian idea, but the concept of a prebate is that you do not pay taxes on the minimum amount it takes you to survive.
Right.
Okay? That's in the bill.
I agree.
If you read the book.
Then I'm for it then. Okay.
Yeah. So I just changed his mind. How about that?
I agree 100%. Then there has to be a line, a cutoff line, or starting point.
Yeah. And so, all right. Thank you, caller. Sorry for cutting you off. That prebate thing.
Yes.
That's to me. That's my first concern, and it's the first step in making that kind of a tax a more complex tax where you're not treating everything equally and fair. In other words, if we're going to have a sales tax on everyone, I'd rather it be, it's X% and it's X% for everyone and it stays that way. And to me, that's the best way to keep things fair and simple. Once you let one, but what do you think about that? I mean, our income tax used to be that way.
Well, I guess my reply to that would be, certainly I agree that you should not get special privileges based on whether you're rich or poor. If you owe something, it shouldn't be a matter of, okay, gee, you're a rich person, we're going to dig into your pocket more just because you're rich, and no, you're poor, so it's okay to be poor. It's actually good to be poor. I think a lot of people in this country have the sense that I'd rather be poor because I get stuff. And
right.
This whole welfare mentality we have in this country is, I think, crippling us. And I would agree with you on that.
And to me, the net effect is that's why I want it to be flat. Whether it's flat or fair or whatever, I want a fixed percentage, whether it's income or sales tax, that everyone pays the same percent, so we're all in the same boat, rather than, let's increase the credits for the poor, or let's increase it, because here's what's happened. Here's what happens. You start giving tax credit, you start giving benefits back to lower income people. And so they start saying, well, let's raise it more. We'll raise it, we'll get the rich to pay. Well, when you look at what really happens, usually the rich find a way around it.
Right.
Let me give you an example right here in Travis County, right there in my neighborhood, Travis Heights. Yeah, Travis Heights. The most democratic, liberal. I mean, these folks, I think they voted for Nader. Nader over Gore way back when. It's the Democrats. It's Hightower Democrats. Molly, I think.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, did I make it clear?
Yeah, you made it clear.
Okay. So you got these socialist Democrats want to raise taxes all the time to help all the poor, and yet there's a woman, Claudette Lowe. She's an activist, I'm pretty sure. She owns $1 million home. There's others like her. They're Democrats in Travis Heights. Mm-hmm. They own these $500,000 homes. They own $1 million homes. They're constantly visiting the city council saying, oh, these new McMansions are horrible. These McMansions, they all look like boxes. They're destroying our neighborhood. These other millionaires and half-millionaires in Travis Heights own real mansions, not McMansions, the authentic old things. They're great Democrats. They want to take care of the poor. They want to raise taxes on everyone to raise more revenue, and then they go get historical tax breaks on their own homes.
Yep.
That's what happens every time we give credits to the poor and raise it on everyone else. The rich find a way around it. They secure their own tax credits, whether it's Democrats, Republicans, or whatever. That's why I'm for flat taxes.
Okay, do we have a progressive income tax in the United States, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so we already give breaks to the poor today.
Yes.
Okay,
but we
so
have
are you telling me that the fair tax is worse? What's your baseline
that
here?
would make it worse.
Is your baseline our current situation, or is your baseline utopia?
No, my baseline is our current situation. Our current situation is we have a progressive or regressive?
We have progressive right now.
We have
what it is.
The
more you make.
I know. Yeah, we have a progressive income tax, but we have a regressive payroll tax on Social Security and Medicare. You know yours gets cut off somewhere around 80,000, 90,000 or whatever that is.
Yeah, right. I know. I'm in that mansion out in Laga Vista. Right. Yeah.
Right. That's a McMansion. No, it's a nice. I can't even remember what. It's a nice. It's a home that fits in with the rest of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Travis Heights folks would love it.
I guess.
Okay. But anyway, what were we talking about?
I don't know. You were making the point. We were talking about progressive.
Every time I'm on the show, I want to say something bad about my liberal Travis Heights neighborhood, and so I have to twist a fair tax into a property tax, into the rich liberals even getting tax cuts for themselves because they've got power. But anyway, and that's what happens with fair taxes and everything. That's why I'm for flat, even tax. You know, whether it's sales tax, whatever, no prebates, no rebates, no credits, no child credits, no home credits.
Okay. So did Steve Forbes' proposal work? It's dead.
No, it's not dead. It's
he ran for president. No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
Steve Forbes didn't just have a book reach the New York Times bestseller list.
Well, it's in Forbes magazine. It gets a lot of circulation.
Fine.
But so neither proposal is likely to pass anytime soon. I wish they would.
Well, I don't know that.
Both of them would pass, or either one of them.
Sure.
Over what we've got now.
Right.
But anyway, I mean, Bush is going to go on there and say, "Oh yeah, I'll consider the fair tax." But
I don't think he even said that.
He may not even said that. Yeah.
So the whole president's tax panel, nothing useful came out of that. They would have saved money if they hadn't even had the hearings. So, it's unfortunate that everybody wants to pay lip service to this horrible problem that everybody recognizes with taxes, and they have these blue ribbon panels, and the result is nothing. So,
well, I can tell you, I think Neal Boortz is a decent guy, even though a lot of folks don't like him because he wanted, because of he was in favor of bombing Iraq.
And I just want to go on the record for all those people who are out there. I called him on a television on his radio show on national broadcast and debated him on his position on the Iraq War. So anyone who thinks I'm just kissing his tushy here,
you're a warmonger. Pat's a warmonger. We all
I took him to task.
Pat's a libertarian for bombing every country.
No, I am not.
Yes, he is. Look at him. He wants to drop bombs. He wants to
raise. He wants this guy.
He wants to put a fair tax in so we can drop more fair bombs.
Wrong. Okay, go ahead.
Joking. Okay, where were we at? Oh, so anyway, I respect Neal Boortz. I think he's decent. I much more respect Milton Friedman.
Yeah.
I haven't read that book. I've worked too hard to take the leisure time to read a book that's that long and that intensive. I'm glad.
Oh, come on.
It's nice you have all day to read a long, intensive book on tax policy.
170 pages. 170 pages. Come on.
This is my boss, by the way. Oh, I can't point.
There it is.
I was going to say, the guy I'm debating is my boss, and so I'm telling him how I work so hard. I don't have time to read his.
He's negotiating for a better contract.
Pet projects all the time. 170-page books. I'm reading all the emails of candidates who say,
and it's
even Pat for that fair
it's
tax.
even autographed. I got Neal's autograph right there. So see, I just have all kind of leisure time to.
Okay, where were we? I think I was trying to say something else bad about my neighborhood, but anyway. Okay. So Milton Friedman's good.
Yes.
In fact, I think I've told this story before, but the reason I became a libertarian, I was reading the Rush Limbaugh letter. I actually paid money for that thing. I didn't like his radio show. I think he's just rambling. But I remember reading Milton Friedman was claimed to be a libertarian, not a Republican.
Right.
Now, he's not a Libertarian Party person, but he says, I'm libertarian. And I was like, wow, I love Milton Friedman. I need to look this up. So there may be some merits to that plan. I'm sure any good plan will get screwed up royally once we start implementing it.
So let's just quit. I mean, how about the Libertarian Party just fold up and go away?
There's a difference between focusing on a fair tax and just throwing away. Why don't the Democrats just fold up and go away? You know.
I agree.
Okay, we're for that. All right.
I'm for that.
And then the Republicans do the same thing.
Yeah, I think the Republicans are bigger.
My point is, you can read about something that may sound great on paper. It may actually be great. But plans rarely get implemented the way we envision them or the way we even want them to be implemented. And that's why, to me, our focus before worrying about who we're taxing how much needs to be, we're taxing everyone overall too much. And, And let me bring it to the state level now. They're about to have a special session.
That's right.
They want to figure out how to throw more money into the public education system. Of course, libertarians think we need to pull more money out of the public education system and put it in private hands. Let parents spend their money on the schools that they want to.
Right.
But what they're going in there, and the Republicans have done this to themselves, and I'm very happy about this. They've been talking about how we're going to find more money for education. We're going to find more. We're going to do this. Basically, Republicans are running around teaching everyone we need to raise taxes and raise spending on education. They're saying the same thing about roads, health care, everything that Republicans are talking about. It's, well, we need to just slightly change this tax so we change the burden of the taxation and raise it overall some. That's the problem. We've trained every Republican in America to favor more taxes and spending. Not me and you. We didn't train them. The bad guys did.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned Milton Friedman. Here is a excerpt from the president's panel on tax reform, where he goes on for several pages telling about why a consumption tax is far superior to an income tax. Now, both of us will agree that any legislator can screw up bills.
Yeah.
You can pass something on city council. I know it for a fact. There are times when you think you're doing something with the best of intentions, and the mayor does an end run on you.
Now, I know on the Libertarian Council, State Libertarian Council, with the best intentions, they can screw some up. Committees do that.
Well, human beings are imperfect.
Right.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So here is a plan that is put together. When I read this plan, it looks far superior to what we have. And to say, I'm going to vote no for this because later it could turn into something worse, you could argue that with any legislation whatsoever.
Yeah.
If I propose, okay, we're going to do away with, corporate welfare, are you going to argue, no, I'm going to vote against that because it might get worse?
No, but I don't think that's a good example. Let me ask you something else about this taxing issue. Employers already pay Social Security and Medicare, and believe it or not, I think there's actually very little fraud. I shouldn't say very little, but I know it's so easy to cheat on income tax, and I know so many people do it.
Right.
Payroll taxes, Social Security, income tax, Medicare, almost everyone pays that. Mexicans that come and work in Texas illegally, most of them pay Social Security taxes. They don't even get Social Security benefits. Maybe they get all this, little welfare and health care stuff, but they pay Social Security, a lot of them, and because they don't have the employer pays it, that takes them out of their check. That system's in place, and if you look at this, y'all can't see this here, but I've got a breakdown of revenue that goes into the federal government. The income tax is about 35%.
Right.
Payroll tax and all that stuff, Medicare, Social Security, that's about 32%. They're about equal.
Right.
In other words, you got an income tax and a payroll tax. Of course, it gets shuffled around or whatever, but they're both big taxes. The income tax, the payroll taxes work. Why not just put a payroll tax?
Why not have everybody who's illegally in this country pay a tax? Why don't they do that now? Because they're here illegally. And when the IRS doesn't even know they exist, they're not paying the tax. They're in here working illegally. They're avoiding taxes. Susanna Hupp the other day, State Representative Susanna Hupp, was giving a presentation talking about the amount of money the state of Texas incurs from people here illegally paying for all these emergency services and everything else. What if every time they bought anything, they're going through a fast food and they buy a hamburger, they're paying 23%. They're buying clothes, they're paying 23%. They get the prebate, but they're paying the tax. The tax avoidance here is far less under the fair tax than you have under the income.
I think it would be a benefit if they're paying, in other words, like you said, they're paying that. I think those folks they may even get a pay cut. A tax cut. It's hard to say. I'd have to look at the numbers.
If they're not paying any tax,
but under this plan, they won't pay Social Security or Medicare taxes either. Right?
No, that's wrong.
Oh, you continue to pay Social Security, Medicare, and that.
It's included. Basically, what we're talking about here is the tax that you're paying for retail is replacing anything.
Social Security, Medicare, and income tax.
Now, if you want me to go into facts and figures, I don't have them. I didn't bring my spreadsheet here today, but yes.
Because I guess my point is, right now, lower income people they don't pay income tax, but they actually pay a lot of Social Security and
well,
Medicare. They pay like 20. It's 8. What is Social Security? It's 16%.
Well,
8%
your FICA
8%.
is 12.5, or you're arguing that the employer is paying half, so it's getting paid.
Yeah. I'm saying illegals aren't avoiding as many taxes as people make it out to be.
But they're avoiding a lot of it. A tremendous amount.
They're avoiding a lot, but they're paying a lot.
Well, if you want to have an argument with Susanna Hupp about this, go ahead. But
Susanna Hupp's a politician.
Yeah.
I would want, if you look at the Cato Institute and some of these, they talk about taxes and spending to me in a little bit fairer way. So Susanna Hupp's a politician. I think she's one of the best ones we've had in Texas for quite some time.
Yeah.
But still, the illegal thing is overplayed, and the cost to Texas tax-wise is overplayed. Because I know for a fact employers pay a lot of Social Security and Medicare taxes on illegal aliens, and those folks don't get the Social Security back. That's been in the papers lately too. That money goes into our Social Security system, and our grandparents get it. Not these illegal.
It goes into a black hole is where it goes.
Well, which is the government.
Okay, we have another caller here. We're going to see what they have to say. We actually have two callers. So, hello, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hello.
I think the numbers that you're putting out don't add up. If you're saying a sales tax of 23%
yes.
is going to replace all of the income taxes that are being taken out of people's check and paid for by the employer, as Wes has correctly pointed out. Your numbers, if you're saying a 23% tax, that's not going to work. And is that 23% then plus the 7 or 8% sales tax on top of that, a 30% tax every time you go to buy something?
Now, first thing, you got to read the book. I cannot give you 170 pages here over the phone, but the point is that if the studies that have been done on how much you're paying for all the every time you buy something, you're already paying embedded taxes that are income. So every worker, every point of production along the line is adding income tax, corporate income tax, personal. It's all adding up. So if you want to replace all that, the 23% retail is what would replace that. Now, if you're saying, gee, 30% is more than 23, you got to look at the figures. Again, I can't give you calculus.
Actually, it's more like 45% for the income side, which is what you're trying to replace with 23%, and then when you add state sales tax, which in Texas is around 7 or 8, depending on the locality,
right.
You're talking about a 30% retail tax.
Well, I'm just talking about federal taxes here. We're not talking about state or what the county or city does. You can't say, okay, we're going to have a federal taxing system and then correct it for every state and city, whatever they do.
Let's just stay with the federal. Let's just stay with the federal side.
Right, that's what I'm doing.
23% does not replace the 40-some-odd% which people are paying for in their federal taxes.
Go ahead,
and I just want to add, because I think I've made it clear. There's some ideas that are valid, but I don't think it's worth pursuing personally. But I will say, whatever the numbers are, just conceptually, it is possible to think that you could replace our income tax with a sales tax, whatever the number would be that would make it a neutral change or a revenue neutral change.
Right.
There is some number, and there's some it's economically feasible or explainable. Politically, I just don't think it's a reality.
Well, let's speak on those terms. Let's say that there is some revenue neutral figure, which I think you're going to introduce a whole new category of problems with people trying to evade the sales tax. But let's just say, let's put those aside for the moment. Do you realize you're talking about an enormous expenditure of effort and media resource, not to go after the libertarian aim of reducing the size and scope of government, but just simply to make it a little bit more efficient for it to collect its money?
Okay, let me make something clear. I'm not spending Libertarian Party money on the FairTax. Okay, I bought this book out of my own income, okay? Neal Boortz does his show. John Linder does his stuff. The FairTax organization, they do their thing. You're worried that the Libertarian Party is spending money the wrong way. We have not spent a dime on the FairTax.
I didn't say Libertarian Party resources. I just said
efforts
in terms of advocacy, libertarian advocacy.
Right, and I understood that. And let me just make a point along those lines. Slightly disagreeing with you, and I don't know. Was it gray outside? Was it dreary and rainy all day?
Sure
it seems
was.
like everyone's in a. You seem grumpy. I look bad on the TV.
No, we're just having fun.
I got nasty phone calls at home all day from libertarians, and little emails, that just set me off. So anyway, sounds like our callers are in bad mood. I hope the sun comes out tomorrow. In any case, I agree with you to some degree on that, Terry. Did Terry identify himself?
Yeah.
We assume that's you, Terry.
This is Terry Liberty Parker.
Okay. I agree with you on that part of it. However, there is another aspect of it, and that is when you support an effort, other folks in that effort say, there's the libertarians again in this effort. It's kind of like the anti-war effort. You've made this argument many times. Movements are shaped by those who show up. If we're at war demonstrations and such, we get credit for that even. So I don't know if that makes sense. In other words,
right.
That's why there's been some things independent Texans have done.
Right.
It's not
the
perfectly
toll
libertarian.
Roads, there's when you have a movement that's catching some steam, and it's something that you agree with, it's good to align yourself with that movement. Now, again, our candidates can make their own decisions. You can have a candidate that says, no, I really don't like the fair tax because I just want lower taxes. Fine. They can be our nominee. But the only point I'm making is there is a good reason for libertarians to support the fair tax. So, Terry, I hope I've answered your question. Did you have anything else, Terry?
Well, you responded to the question. That wasn't an answer we can agree on. But we don't have to drag a whole show.
Sorry.
Down.
Yeah.
Let me also be clear. You're not making this advocacy as chair of the Libertarian Party.
I am chair of the Libertarian Party, but look, we can get hung up in terms. We don't. Let me make this point. A libertarian in Texas does not have to support the fair tax. We have people on the committee, on the state committee, who don't particularly like the fair tax. It has come before a state committee twice and been voted down.
Right.
Now,
So
did I stand there and say, well, you're off the committee because you don't support the FairTax? No.
You can't. No, the committee would get you off.
So,
no, but basically, the point is the Libertarian Party of Texas did not endorse the FairTax. Pat Dixon likes it. Many other libertarians like it, and I personally don't have a problem. I think that's entirely appropriate. In other words, libertarians, if we just try and argue over what is exactly we all agree on, we don't agree on everything. So, but we're for lower taxes in certain things. So, to me, the platform should be simple. You know what? Stuff we all agree on, and then let candidates and individuals go out and try and break new ground, hopefully smaller government ground, but in some cases it's hard to tell. So, does that make you feel a little better, Terry?
Yeah, my only question was if Pat is not speaking for the party on this issue, and the party has already taken a stand that it's not endorsing the fair tax, you know, that's fine. I mean, of course, everybody's got a right to advocate anything that they want.
Sure.
And let it stand or fall on its own merits. And right now, what I'm saying to you is that 23% does not replace the 40-some-odd percent.
Terry, have you read the book?
From the income.
Yeah.
Have you read the book, Terry?
Sorry, this is a TV show.
You don't say that the numbers don't add up if you haven't read it.
Yes.
You got to do the research that I've done.
You're not going to win your point that way. This is a TV show.
He's not winning it with me either.
You've raised a point in this venue. If you're not prepared to actually complete the point in this venue, if your only answer is you got to read the book or just shut up, then you're losing the argument. This is your tactic.
I agree with Terry on that.
The point I made is there have been studies done. Economists have looked at this. People like Milton Friedman and those kinds of people have looked at it and said, if you want to replace the income taxes that we have today with a national retail sales tax, the number is 23%. That's the number. And that's not a number I came up with. Yes. That's a number that people who have researched the issue came up with. And it has to do with, okay, how much income is there versus how much is spent, and all those sorts of things.
Right. And I just don't think either on this show or in most forums it's really worth it to get bogged down debating the numbers. I think that's think tank stuff. The fact is, if it's 23% or whatever, if that's revenue neutral, we're all still paying the same amount of tax.
Right.
Of course, it'll shift some, but overall we're paying the same. Maybe there's less compliance costs. Those things I'm okay to talk with. So I just really wouldn't want to get in an accounting debate on here.
Okay.
But I do want to. Oh, I lost my thought. Let me bring up.
Then you're done then.
Pat will do that to you.
Yeah. Let's just take a break here and remind our viewers that this is the show Live and Let Live. Why don't you tell them the rest about it?
Well, this is the longest-running libertarian television show, we think, in the world. So we've been on many, many years. Our producer, Gary Johnson, does a tremendous job, so we really thank him for putting this together. It's great to have the show. The number to call in is 512-477-2288. And anybody who's a viewer out here who wants to tell whether I won the debate or Wes won the debate, you can call in, and I'll keep tabs right here. So
here is the point I wanted to make, and it kind of goes along with what Terry was saying. Fair tax, flat tax, income tax, that same kind of debate's going on in the state legislature right now. It's should we put a sales tax on? Should we do a state income tax? Should we do a business tax, a franchise tax? To me, that's a great opportunity. We've got Republicans trapped. They're arguing about what kind of tax to do. No matter what they do, if they lower one, they're going to raise another because they're not for lowering spending. And that's why our focus, to me, should be not the tax scheme. It's the fact that Republicans are raising taxes. Republicans are spending more money. Democrats have always done it. Amazingly, Republicans are spending taxes way faster than Democrats ever could. And our focus needs to be to remind viewers and everyone, the public, that Republicans are raising taxes and Republicans are spending money. Did I make that clear?
Yep.
Republicans are raising taxes.
Terry, I got another call, so if it's okay, I'm going to let you go and answer this other call.
Take care.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, caller number 2. You're on the air.
It's a Republican. He's going to raise our
I'd like
taxes.
to certainly see taxes reduced, but the fair tax being increased consumption tax in place of income tax is not fair to those people who are retired and who have already paid income tax on their earnings and their savings that they're living off of, and now they would have to pay the increased consumption tax. So that's the point I wanted to make.
Right.
That's a good point.
The argument is that you're already paying taxes every time you're buying a retail product. It's not just that when you go to the counter and you see, okay, here's 6%. The price of the good before it even hits the... Uh-oh, we must have lost him. I'll just complete the point.
Yeah.
The cost of the good on the shelf already has embedded taxes in it. Every point of production along the line, whether it's income tax for the workers at the assembly line, whether it's the corporate taxes at every little piece part that's in the thing you're buying, you're still paying that tax. So don't get the idea that you're adding on to that, you're replacing it, because you're eliminating those income taxes on the corporations and the individuals doing all the work.
And so I really don't know if I want to get in, I don't know if these accounting debates or make progress, but I think he's got a point. In other words, that's true for everyone, and
that's right.
He right now he's not paying a huge sales tax, and if you lower working Americans' income tax and then raise their sales tax the same that you raise retired folks' sales tax, to me it can't. Someone's getting a different. I think you're adding taxes to the retired person, like that man just explained.
In some cases, there may be winners and losers. No matter what tax scheme you have, let's say you like the flat tax. Hey, Steve Forbes, you got a great idea. Some people lose in that scheme. Okay, so no matter what you put out, I'll tell you the biggest losers in the fair tax are lobbyists and the people who've built an entire industry about scheming a tax system.
Yeah.
That's what we're saving here. Whether you have a progressive income tax, a flat income tax, whatever, as long as you have an IRS that makes every single individual give their personal information to the IRS, who, by the way, they buy and sell that information. All these telemarketing firms and everything, I know for a fact that they buy information from the IRS so they know how much income you make.
What,
and
all that?
Yes.
You sure?
Absolutely. You want me to prove it to you?
Well,
I won't do it here,
I don't
but
know if it's true or not. And whether it's true or not, that still doesn't.
But
all those things can be done with the fair tax.
No.
These can be kept. We've got terrorism. They're going to start tracking who's spending money where. They're already talking about putting putting serial numbers on cash where you can track it, and you can end up. So all those things can be done with a sales tax. Almost, maybe not all of them, but a whole lot of them can, and that's why I'm worried about even trying a new big tax. Well, let me ask you this. Let's go back to the flat tax.
Okay.
Let's go back to the flat tax.
Okay.
That is very easy to implement. In other words, it's not a big change. You're not suddenly changing whether you got this huge retail tax or not. To me, I'd rather, and I guarantee you. I mean, I wish I was wrong, but I guarantee you there's a lot more likelihood of implementing a flat tax than that sales tax.
Oh, you mean legislatively?
Yeah.
You think the political will is stronger for a flat tax than for the fair tax?
Yes.
Then how many co-sponsors does a flat tax bill have right now in Congress?
That doesn't matter. These legislators took our ballot access bill, and we know they were just doing that to say, oh, you're for us. I mean, people sign on to that for political gain. When it comes time, when it comes time to implement something like that, I don't think.
Well, let me ask you this.
That's when they really look at it and don't do it.
Congressman Ron Paul says he would vote for the fair tax. Do you think he's lying to me, or?
No, he said very begrudgingly, and he had problems with it, didn't he?
I'll tell you exactly what he said.
Well,
and
he said more than one thing in his life.
Twisted.
You can tell us what he said one time, because he's Tell us what he said once.
What he told me, and I've talked to him directly and to Penny Langford, who runs his district office here, he said there will be a black market. Yeah, there's a black market today. People cheat on their income taxes.
Right.
Okay,
that's definitely.
Okay, so saying there's a black market, that doesn't mean it's worse or better than the income tax.
Mm-hmm.
Second, that the whole point is to lower taxes. We don't care about the scheme, which is that's part of the point you're making.
Right.
But if you have a scheme that will lower the bureaucracy and is fair across the board, which I believe the fair tax is, why would you oppose it? Those are the comments I've heard from Ron Paul.
Okay.
But he's on record saying I would vote for it. If it came to the floor, I would vote for it.
All right. I haven't studied all the accounting and all of it, but in other words, I haven't read the book.
Mm-hmm.
My gut still tells me politically it's far less likely than a flat tax. It's popular at the moment. I understand that. The fact that people sign some bills, that doesn't mean a lot. And further, I think that retired gentleman has a point, and people over 65 are going to get some kind of credit thing. They're going to have to collect their receipts, turn them in, because a payroll, I think, maybe just a payroll tax would be simpler. In other words, that is simple right now. Everyone doesn't have to collect.
But what you're arguing right now is you think a regressive tax is politically better than the fair tax, which is not regressive. You're arguing for a flat tax, which is regressive.
It's not
which
regressive.
Would say,
why is it regressive?
Because regardless of whether you're poor or rich,
that's flat. That's not regressive.
That's flat.
Regressive.
It's
is
regressive.
When you regressive is Social Security when people who make over $80,000 don't have to pay.
Let's understand our terms right now, okay?
Okay.
Compared to what we have right now, where you have a population who's if you're not making a certain amount of income, you pay less tax. We have a progressive income tax right now.
We have a
the
progressive
fair tax
income tax.
has a prebate. Okay?
Right.
What you're arguing is you think it's politically easier to sell a regressive tax, one that if you're poor, you don't get a break. You're saying that's going to work.
No, you're calling it regressive when it's not regressive. It's not. It's not regressive.
Well, okay.
You're calling it regressive when it's not regressive.
I'll agree with you. I agree with you.
Okay.
You and I know it's not regressive, but everybody's going to call it regressive because they look at what the tax burden is right now to lower income people, and they say that tax burden is going up, so they're going to call it regressive.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying that's going to sell easier than this.
I'm saying that's not going to sell.
And so you'd rather jump on a bandwagon for something that's really not going to sell.
I'm for talking about lower taxes. I'm okay if you spend your time working on the fair tax. And I can tell you, our candidate for governor, James Werner, and let me just ask real quick, was James Werner on the show last week? No, you. Okay.
Whoops.
I thought he was going to be.
Oh, well. We'll have him next week.
Okay. You'll be happy to hear this.
Yep.
Our candidate for governor, James Werner, Libertarian, who I recruited.
Yep.
I helped recruit or whatever.
Okay.
He studied the Texas Public Policy Forum, economic stuff, and I think on that they propose a flat consumption tax, a sales tax, just a simple sales tax for Texas. No, all these other different taxes, don't do all this stuff. And James Werner, I think, is gonna push that in his campaign for governor. I keep telling him talk about lower taxes too.
Sure.
But let's talk about that. So, and I have no problem with that. I have no problem if you push the fair tax. Our candidate for governor pushes a simple sales tax for Texas rather than raising all these other taxes. I'm okay with that. What I will be talking about more than what our taxing scheme is the Republican scheme. The Republican scheme is raise taxes, raise spending, faster than Democrats ever dreamed they could. That's what I'll be talking about. That's what's wrong with Texas and America right now. We used to be one of the lowest tax nations out. There was. Texas is still a good state because we have decent low taxes compared to other states. But what we need to teach people again, that free markets, low taxes, that's what made America strong, rich. That's why that's why our poor people live better than middle class in most countries. We need to remind people of that fact. No one's doing that. Republicans aren't doing it. I think it's up to libertarians. And we can let Republicans argue. They're going to be talking about fair taxes, flat taxes, state income taxes, state business taxes. We need to talk about lower taxes.
Okay. I'm going to agree with you. Okay? Let me make this clear. I think our number one issue right now is we're the only fiscal conservatives on the ballot, period.
For lower taxes,
okay?
yeah.
For lower taxes and lower spending.
Right.
Let's not just talk about lower taxes. Okay, we lowered the taxes, but we increased the debt burden on your children and grandchildren. Let's talk about lower spending and lower taxes, okay? That's our number one issue.
Right.
Personally, this is not my number one issue.
Right.
Okay, I'm on this show here talking about it because it's a hot topic. A lot of people are talking about it. There's a number one best-selling book on the New York Times bestseller list, so I think it's a good topic to talk about.
Right. No, I agree.
The issue
it's a good topic
if, let's say, a congressional candidate for the Libertarian Party is asked in a debate, if this bill made it to the floor, would you vote yes or no? What should they say?
They should dodge the question like most politicians.
Okay, maybe they'll do that. Maybe they'll
say yes. But what they should say is, that's not the right question. The right question is, how are we going to cut taxes and spending overall?
Okay.
That's what their answer is.
Okay, what if you're looking for an endorsement from the FairTax organization in the state of Texas or some other state? These organizations are getting big.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. I don't know if you've been to some of the message boards, but, I mean, there are tons of people who are posting messages, these message boards saying, I'm a volunteer in Austin. There's actually a bunch of Austin people saying we support the FairTax.
Yeah.
So you're in front of this group of FairTax supporters, and you answer the question that way.
A lot of them will like you. They will understand. I mean, most of the people pushing that tax are for lower taxes.
Sure, of course.
That is an important point. In other words, so if you say what I said, I don't guarantee everybody like that.
Sure.
But a whole lot of people will like to hear that. They will like to hear my most important thing is we need lower taxes overall and lower spending.
Yeah.
So
I understand. I mean, each candidate has to make their decision, and sometimes you say, hey, look, that's not the main issue, but sometimes you want to be straightforward. I personally, in regard to my role on city council, I try to be just very straightforward. If I have something that isn't very complimentary to say but is the truth, I have to say it. Because I'm not in office to become perpetually in office. I was elected, and I'm going to do my job like I want to do. I don't want to be ashamed that, I really compromised my position there. So that's a personal choice everybody's going to have to make.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, there's another effort here in Texas. You might say it's kind of similar to this, but it's something called the Taxpayer Bill of Rights.
Right.
And that's being pushed by the Americans for Prosperity. And I don't think we have time for another call.
Yeah, we just got a caller, but we don't have time for you. We got about a minute and a half, so sorry.
The Taxpayer Bill of Rights is something I've said, I support that. It's a step in the right direction. It limits tax increases in spending to inflation plus population growth. Of course, I want to cut it beyond that, but, I'm okay. And, I think this fair tax is similar. I think it's something that individuals, libertarians, may get involved with. I'm comfortable that the party hasn't endorsed it and imposed it on every libertarian. But so anyway, I think it's been a fun show, but
it's been
fun debating this. I think I won, right?
I still love you there, Wes. It was good debating you.
You're not firing me. I'm debating my boss. He pays my salary.
Strong-willed people working for me. People who aren't just going to be yes men and that sort of thing.
You don't want a yes man. I don't have a yes man running the cameras. He works for me actually, and he doesn't say yes all the time. He tells me what he thinks constantly. Apparently, there's room for improvement in the performance of the Libertarian Party. Yep. Are you going to close the show?
I'll close it out, and I want to thank whoever the viewers were out there that tuned in tonight. I hope you were entertained and perhaps enlightened. Every Saturday night, we have this show on this station at 8 p.m. So tonight's show is February 25th, 2006. We appreciate you tuning in, and again, we hope you can support the Libertarian Party regardless of whether you're a FairTax supporter or anything else. We need to fight this battle for liberty, and we are the only fiscal conservatives left on the ballot. Thank you very much.